Good evening. An outspoken 48-year-old Catholic Chicago priest who protested the Chilean practice of torturing political dissidents returned home from Chile today. He was expelled from that country yesterday. The gaunt but spirited Catholic cleric said he was sorry that the government expelled him. He realizes that it's dangerous to protest peacefully in Chile. We get more details from Robert Jordan.
The Reverend Dennis O'Mara arrived at O'Hare Airport looking tired and haggard after his forced departure from Chile. O'Mara said he was arrested for passing out Christmas cards calling on the government to stop violence against political prisoners.
2 police entered the church where I was giving this out, arrested me without using violence, brought me to a police station, and yesterday they told me that I was being expelled from the country.
If that were me, I believe I would have done the same thing. It would be very hard to sit back and not protest against human torture.
I guess personally I don't understand what the missionaries are trying to do.
They're over there to teach these people about Christ, right? And not to get involved in politics.
I feel that missionaries are probably not popular in third world countries at this time is because they tend to be concerned about human rights, and that is really the problem. I think that's why they're getting into trouble.
Why they're kicked out, I don't really understand.
Here I am, Lord, is it I?
Yes, for many of us in the church, it's not easy to understand what's happening to our missionaries. We don't usually know enough about their work and the difficulties that they face. Many of us haven't realized how much the mission world has changed. To help us look at some of the changes in world mission, our bishops have given us this new pastoral message. In it, the bishops thank our missionaries, encourage their work, and invite them to share their mission experience with us. The message is clear. World mission remains an urgent and important concern of our church. We are all responsible for continuing this mission to other peoples. Just as in the early days of our country, others reached out to share their faith with us. As the waves of immigrants poured into this new continent, European missionaries came with them. But the gift of faith we had received had to be shared. Before long, our people reached out to others and generously supported missionaries and missionary groups, like the propagation of the faith in the Holy Childhood. Over the years, our men and women answered the call to go and share the good news of Jesus with other peoples. Now, our challenge is to continue what other generations began. For us and for our missionaries, it's a changing world. Indeed, our world seems to be in constant change.
Continuing period of fighting and tension. I speak, of course, not just for myself and my delegation, but for my government, who are deeply concerned at this tragic situation.
One big change is the growing interdependence of the world. No country can stand alone or
Who are
isolated.
charged under the Charter with the maintenance of international peace and security can have the opportunity to see what
The peoples
can
of
be
the
done
world
to
have become
avert
dependent
further
on
tragedy.
one another for life, for security,
There is
and
an
for
immediate
survival.
to promote the process of national reconciliation and to make possible the withdrawal of all foreign forces within its internationally recognized boundaries.
Foods and goods we use are produced and shared internationally. Sharing and cooperation between nations is a reality and a necessity in today's world.
Well, I think interdependence means that you have to rely on other countries to do things for you. I don't think that's a good position for us to be in.
No, I don't think the United States are dependent upon other countries particularly, maybe for one or two things, but that's about it.
I don't think that we're dependent enough on other countries. I think that Americans have this superiority complex, and we feel that we don't need anybody else, but we do need other countries. We can't just go it alone. We need each other.
That's the same as a family. You have to do for each other. That's what makes a family strong. That's what makes the world strong. I don't think it's good for anybody to be totally independent, a country or a person.
I think the country as a whole is becoming too dependent on too many countries, yes, and I think that's something that should not be there.
People don't always agree that we are or should be interdependent. Many of us struggle with that idea. To some of us, it's kind of un-American. Many see these world links only as threats, not as bonds that enrich us. However, is there a gospel value in these bonds between nations? Our bishops suggest that world interdependence is somehow linked to the mission of the church. The gospel message that the unity of the human family draws us all together and calls us to share. And we share in a changing world. Changes in the mission world have been dramatic. Former colonies have become independent nations. Former missions have become vibrant local churches, sending out their own missionaries. The understanding of mission has broadened and deepened also. For example, no longer do we talk of a sending church and a receiving church. Instead, all are equal churches, called to be mission sending and receiving. As our missionaries preach the gospel, baptize and form Christian communities, they know that the good news of salvation is for the whole person. In caring for their spiritual needs, missionaries cannot neglect the material hungers of their people, even when it brings them into conflict with repressive governments. These are some of our representatives, missionaries from our U.S. church. Many are called to give heroic witness to the faith. Mission work is a risky business. It's not an easy vocation. What does a missionary do in these kinds of situations? Where injustice exists, the bishops tell us that action for justice is an essential part of preaching the gospel. This calls the missionaries and all of us to defend the lives, dignity, and human rights of people. When missionaries do this, they are sometimes not welcomed.
If a missionary can't take a stand to help people, who possibly could? I would if I were there.
It breaks my heart that people are suffering, and I'm at a loss to know what to do about it.
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. I don't know what they should do. I know what they ought to do is to stand up for them, but that takes a lot of guts.
One big change in mission today is the increasing number of lay missionaries.
Going to the Philippines.
In this departure ceremony at Maryknoll, lay missionaries, single and married, are sent forth. Their growing number is a sign of great hope for the future.
Going to Peru.
I didn't pick Korea specifically. I was interested in working overseas and working with the church. I think really what I wanted at the time was some way to make a commitment to something, to be a part of something more than myself. What does a single person do? I'm happy now. I'm very happy now, and I'm very at peace with that, knowing that that's the thing I can do. I can do just the simple everyday things, and that's really, I think that's what lay people are called to do within the church, is in whatever it is you're doing, you really are a missionary.
Many of our missionaries say that they went on mission thinking they were the givers, but they discovered that they received much more than they gave.
I never forget, in Calcutta, a little child, 4 years old, a Hindu child, taught me how to love with great love. We had no sugar for our children. And I do not know how this little boy heard in the school, Mother Teresa has no sugar. And he went home and he told his parents, I will not eat sugar for 3 days. I will give my sugar to Mother Teresa. So beautiful. That little child came to our house. In his little hand there was a little bottle of sugar, so little, but there was so much great love. That little one loved with great love, because it is not how much we give, but how much love we put in the giving.
That's the kind of example the people of the young churches can offer us. They have a generosity, an enthusiasm, and a faith that's refreshing. Even when life is hard, they can be joyful. One of the challenges in mission is to understand and appreciate the traditions and customs of other peoples.
I went back and after the war was over to try and bring some purpose into their life. But of course, that was without realizing that they had a whole lot of purposes that I never was aware of at all from just seeing the surface, that they have their own beliefs, their own way of life. That in Korea, we just didn't come in and lay this gospel upon them. We built on all the centuries of tradition that they had that are far and way above anything that we as Americans ever know.
Yes, the missions have so much to share with us, and we have much to learn from them. These people can teach us a lot about what it means to live as a Christian community, what it means to share, even if you have very little, what it means to support one another. Here in Bolivia, an American missionary works with a Christian community. Their song says that we cannot go forward unless the Lord is with us. So we must pray together, believe in one another, and work together to build a new world in Christ. One of the happy changes in mission today is the growth of local churches and local leaders. Former mission areas are now able to reach out and send missionaries to others. Each language and culture shares its gifts. We are enriched by others and inspired by their faith. This is an exciting time in our church. There are so many challenges, so many new directions in mission. We need to remember that we are all called to mission. We need to learn what mission means. We need to pray for and support our missionaries. But perhaps our greatest need is for understanding.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea if we understood what these missionaries were trying to do, what they were up against.
So I think educating people about what it is they do is the most important thing.
I don't think people in communities and churches understand the kind of stress that missionaries are under today.
We were brought to another jail and I was there for 4 days. And yesterday they told me that I was being expelled from the country.
O'Mara says he misses Chile, but won't try to go back, at least while the present government is in power. So for now, it's rest, visit his mother, and reflect on the work he did in Chile. Robert Jordan, WGN News.